Let's begin by taking refuge and the four miserable. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions, such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions, such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions, such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Let's begin by taking a moment to make sure that we are present in this place, on this cushion, in this very moment. Whatever we have been doing before we arrived here, we just let it vanish, and whatever we might have to do, we just leave it on hold for now. Now that we're here, let's make sure before we find the balance of mind that we have the balance of the body. We notice the contact with the ground, whether we sit directly on the floor or sit on a chair. And we're grateful for the stability we gain through this contact. We feel supported. Our hands may be resting palms down, flat on our thighs, or in the meditation gesture, that is the right hand in the left, both resting in the lap. Our back is straight, without unnecessary tension. Our shoulders are slightly outstretched, so the back is not caving. And as we breathe in and out, we begin to notice that our belly relaxes more and more deeply. Our spine is holding us. We can relax the belly. And we begin to notice our center of gravity slightly below the navel. The chin is slightly tucked in and the neck remains free. The mouth is relaxed. The lips may be in a half smile, and the tongue is just behind the teeth, lightly touching the palate. Our gaze is directed straight ahead, slightly downward. Eyes half closed in a soft and open vision of what is in front of us. At times, if you find it more suitable, more comfortable, you may keep your eyes closed. Now that we can sense the balance in our body, we pay attention to our breath. The movement of breath is natural, coming and going mostly through the nostrils. We don't have to modify or change it, we just notice it. And we can use it as a support to begin with when we're easily carried away by thoughts or sense perceptions. When we notice the distraction that we've been carried away, we simply disengage and for a while come back to the breath. Simply follow the movement as you breathe in and you breathe out. If that helps, count the round of breath until you find the state of equipoise, the state of balance, where you are aware of the movements of the thoughts when they arise and disappear, when you're aware when the thoughts do not arise, and it doesn't disturb your attentiveness because the mind is stable, spacious, attentive, clear. But now and then you lose this, you slip away. As soon as you notice it, disengage, come back to the breath for a while, find the balance, and abide there naturally. Feel free to move, stretch a bit if you need. In his manual guiding the travelers on the Bodhi path to awakening, Shamma Rinpoche is really pointing out how the exercise of calm abiding, Tibetan will say shine, shamatha in Sanskrit, is the indispensable preliminary practice. And he goes as far as saying, like, this is the preliminary practice for the main part of the practice that he describes in this book, which is cultivating the two aspects of the enlightened mind attitude, bodhicitta. The relative aspect of it, which has to do with loving kindness and compassion, and the deeper or more absolute level of it, which has to do with coming to realize the true nature of our mind. What in other ways we can call the natural state. The natural state is one way of describing the true reality of mind. And this is something that we often don't see because of the superficial activity of our habitual, let's say, mental consciousness that is very busy with the concept and juggling with this, the likes and don't like, and proving that I am here and that you are there, and so on and so forth. So that creates a lot of distraction. It's like, on the radio, it's like statics, that jam the signal and you cannot perceive it. So you have to tune in, and so that you can really get the signal. The signal is always present. The natural state is not something we have to create or bring in, that maybe we would be without it. No, it's there. In the Mahayana literature, we refer to this as the Buddha nature. This seed of enlightenment or element of enlightenment. In some translations we use these words, but basically the essence of mind, which is this natural state. So the path towards Bodhi, the path towards awakening, consists in removing all the fleeting adventitious pollutions and veils that cover this Buddha nature. And through love and compassion and through discernment, we work on the two main types of veils. But if we don't have a stable mind, then the mind is easily carried away by any noise or by any stimulation. And so this easily distracted mind cannot really do what is really important, is look at itself and come to know itself. So that's why the calm abiding is really, as Rinpoche described it, the preliminary practice. And then he recommends that we do it as long as we don't have a stable mind. It doesn't mean that the mind is fixed forever. Of course, we drift and come back and so on, but you can easily come back. You're not mostly gone. You occasionally gone. And that's a big difference. Okay? And whether you sit on the cushion or in the post-meditation situation, you can keep this, let's call it mindfulness, presence to what is. But that's just the preliminary. It's not really the end of the journey. The end of the journey, which is full and complete liberation of awakening, will require that we become more and more familiar with what the natural state is. To begin with this touch and go. We don't really see it. We are struggling with our agitation. We feel discouraged because we cannot, be calm and attentive. We've got all these expectations and disappointment that come because we are still trying to achieve something. And it's very important to remember that we are not achieving something, for what we will achieve is already ours. So if there is an achievement, is in finding what is. But as we discover this, we realize that even what was distracting was just mind. And so actually, in a way, this didn't even have to be cast away. It had only to be enlightened through our insight to see what it is. So as we gain this capacity to remain one-pointedly present to what is, and without having, high expectations, therefore no big disappointment, we just do very humbly this exercise again and again, whenever we can, for the length we can. Days in, days out, come rain, come shine. We just go through it. We just keep doing it, very humble way. Then, now and then, we begin to see what this natural state might be. We have a sort of a little form of insight. It's not stable, but it gives us some sort of courage and understanding. And so at this point, we just want to continue. And truly the practice at this point is to just come to this point of balance, cultivate the clear mindfulness, notice what is, and begin to see unraveling all the constructions that we have made throughout time about the nature of me perceiving and that which is perceived. Whether it is, let's call them like phenomena, animate beings, inanimate objects, whatever, sense perceptions of all sorts. And as we relax and we are not trying to take side or hold on one being real and the other one being real too, we relax on this habit, then this, what once used to be a very clear divide, becomes less and less of a divide. We begin to see that what is observed depends on the observers, and the observers depends on what is observed. We begin to see that there is definitely an interaction, and these two only exist in this mirror-like game. So the belief that these two were entities is exposed as false in our experience. And at this point, it's not really necessary to look for words and concept so that you can report what you have experienced. It's not important. Even if you don't have the words and you can't express it, but you have this experience, that is extremely important, valuable. Don't try to look for words to describe it. And by trying to do so, fall back into the habit of dividing the labeler from the labeled, and falling back in the usual tendency of dualistic perception. And so more and more relaxed, and that's why it is very important to cultivate a very relaxed relation to meditation, and not trying to perform, not trying to, as usual, achieve something. It's not being sloppy and careless. It's not about being motivated by gain and obtention. It's this fine line where you are relaxed, clear and mindful. You're not afraid of what you see. You're not carried away out of excitement by what you see. And this capacity to see through, if you want, will allow you to relax the old habit of grasping and holding and clinging and reifying the experience into a subject and an object. And so you enter the second phase of meditation that is free from complication. It is simplicity in the sense of all the conceptual work that we usually do trying to solidify the experience. This just goes away. We are not interested anymore. In a way, we could say, like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of always having to name things, to solidify, to prove my existence, to prove their existence, to debate endlessly with others, to make sure that my point of view is prevalent and they understand what I say, and so on. So maybe if you don't do this in post-meditation situation yet, at least in meditation, try to do that. To be not careless, but to be carefree. And there's a sense of great relief. There's a sense of spaciousness and clarity. And things become obvious. What was mistaken becomes clear. The nature of the mistake becomes clear. And as we simply let go of it, it's when we realize that this is not, then we let go. This is not accurate. It doesn't really represent reality. We let go. And then the peace and the depth of our insight are increasing exponentially. And so we keep doing that, and then we realize that really at the higher level of our practice there is a sort of one taste to everything, which is mind. The one that perceives, that was seen as an entity, is just the cognizant quality of mind. That which was seen is just the natural radiance and creativity of mind. And it's just different function of the same mind. And when we look at it, there's nothing there to be held or to be grasped, for this mind is, in essence, is empty, yet cognizant. One doesn't exclude the other. And the fact of being cognizant doesn't entail the substantiality of the mind that cognizes. And the same for the manifestation. The fact that mind is creative doesn't entail that the creativity or the object that we perceive is a substantial entity. And maybe we don't find words for that. And that's good. In your experience, don't need to find words, because words are concepts. And in this very sort of a very spatial, unique, fragile moment where the dawn of wisdom sort of like coming with heavy shoes and concept will just burst the bubble of awareness. So, and it's really not necessary. In hindsight, later, if you need to guide people on the path, like Shamar Rinpoche did, then you'll find words that are not totally misleading to sort of help them to come closer to the path. But at this point, you know that even the words that you use are just an approximative description and never really hit the nail. So you're not prisoners of the words, but you can be a good wordsmith and use them to help people in their progress. And at this point, when your mind is in union with the natural state, that is, the distance between the meditator and the meditation has subsided, then you are in what we call non-meditation. There is no meditator. So it's kind of interesting, because at this point that's where people call you great meditator or great accomplished, Mahasiddha. But actually your meditation is not conducted by a meditator and having an object that is meditation. But this is very close to enlightenment. Okay, so I just give you that as a sort of a general indication. So what is important is to really cultivate a very natural stability in the mind, which is neither too loose nor too tight. That reflects in the body, in the posture, neither too loose, neither too tight, and then just dive into what is. Nothing arises. That's fine, because no signal, you can see the clear emptiness of mind. Something arises, one signal, you look at the signal, you understand that this is the radiance of this empty mind. It's not different from this empty mind. But still, it appears, and there is no contradiction between being empty and manifesting. At least in this moment, in this experience, when we try to figure it out conceptually, well, it has to be or not. So we sort of get entangled in this dualistic conceptual work that we've been always struggling with. But in our experience, at least for a moment, it can be this, wow, like a rainbow, like an echo. It's clear, but it is, there is no substance to it. And the same with the observer. That there is a cognizance, but it's not an entity. And one doesn't entail the other. That means that if you cognize, you exist. And then if you exist, you have to cognize. And if you don't exist, you don't cognize. All of these are ping-pong game of dualistic mind. And then we move beyond that in our experience. And sometimes we lose it, sometimes we get distracted, there's a noise, or we're tired, or we have some worries in our life, and so on. So they sort of intrude, and then again, those statics will jam the perception of the true natural state. And we don't panic, because we know we never lose it. It's always there, even if we cannot connect. And if we're afraid, we create more static, because we create the static of the feeling of loss and the desire to gain. And then you create more noise, more static. So you just come back to your body, make your posture clear, comfortable, and then your breath, and then you just come back into the state of stability and clarity and openness, and then you just resume your observation. And it's an until enlightenment project, so really. So bring your lunch box. It's gonna be a long journey, but no hurry. No hurry. Okay, so let's do that for a while again. to conclude, let's dedicate the merit of our practice for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Through this merit, may I attain true omniscience. Then, having overcome all harmful, destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of and its turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May the most precious mind of awakening that has not yet dawned now arise. Once arisen, may it never decline, may it continue to increase evermore. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.